What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video on Electric Talks. Hopefully you guys are having a great day whenever you guys are seeing this video. Stay hydrated, folks. It's good for you. I've actually recorded this video twice. Both times have been like over 30 minutes, and I've just told myself like, okay, it's just been not good enough. Okay, so I'm gonna try it again, and I've tried it again twice now, and this is the third time. So the third time is the charm. Hopefully this comes off the way I want it to come off, and I don't get too long-winded with this. But I really wanted to make this video for actually a lot of reasons, to be honest. But I feel like this video is going to clear up a lot of questions, and it's going to answer a lot of questions that people may have about how things have gone for me over the past year. I'm gonna talk about some things in this video that are gonna be pretty sensitive to a lot of people. And I'm also gonna be talking about some things that you may not know about me in this video. And every time I do talk about them openly, I get a lot of, I never knew that about you, or I can't believe that about you, Eric. It is what it is. Can't really control people. I can only control myself. That's that. So I'm just gonna dive straight into this, everyone. In 2019, I did my Northeast tour. I went to New York, went to Canada, ate a lot of food, came back, hit 1 million subscribers. Super pumped, awesome. That was dope. That was super cool. Had a lot of fun doing the tour. Then I did the unlimited calorie challenge, and I decided to train for my first marathon, and that was in November of 2019. And I, around that time, was around 193 pounds. I remember going out on my first run and just being like, I think I did 8 miles. I ran 8 miles, and I ran 8 miles, and I was like, dude, this is actually really sick. I enjoyed that a lot. It brought me feelings that I hadn't felt from cycling in I've been cycling well over 10 years, and I hadn't felt that like accomplished and good after exercise in a long time. And so a few days later, I did 10 miles, and I was like, you know what? It would be super cool if I tried to actually run a marathon, like a legit organized marathon with other people. So I just jumped right in and signed myself up for a marathon. A few days after that, I decided to try to do a half marathon, and I ran a little bit over 13 miles, and I'm not even gonna beat around the bush. I'm just gonna let you guys know right now, that sucked balls. It was horrible. I had not hurt that much. I had not felt that terrible in a long time. And I knew that if I tried to run that marathon at that weight, with how much my bones and my entire body were killing me, I doubted that I would be able to finish the marathon. And I do not deal with failure very well. I'm not sure if you're the same way, but once I start something and I don't finish something, I get very down on myself. And so I set that as a goal. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this marathon. I knew at the end of the day, I knew that if I ran that marathon at that weight, it was gonna be ugly. Naturally, over the course of the next few weeks, kind of leading into the new year of 2020, I ended up training for that marathon, and I actually went from 193 down to, I think it got down to around like mid 170s, maybe high 170s. I don't really know, because I didn't really weigh myself very much. I don't really have that big of a problem knowing my weight. I knowing how much it actually fluctuates on a daily basis for me. I don't really think it's really that, it doesn't really tell me very much. And so I just don't weigh myself very much. And the same goes for you guys. Like, if you guys don't know, like, your weight will fluctuate. It can fluctuate up to 8 to 10 pounds for any average person on a given day. It can fluctuate for me upwards of like 12 to 15 pounds on any given day. That's why I don't really weigh myself very much. So I just wanted to put that out there. I ended up running the marathon, and funny enough, like, I ended up doing, I think, like 7 marathons over the course of 2020, and the first one that I did ended up actually being the fastest one. I ran it in, it was my first marathon. I ran it in 3 hours and 19 minutes. Then I set my sights on a powerlifting meet. My goal for 2020 was to run my first legit marathon, and the second goal was to do a powerlifting meet. I've always loved powerlifting. It's been a huge passion of mine for a while, but the mentality that I have towards powerlifting is much different than the mentality that I have towards endurance training. With powerlifting, it's much more technical. It requires much more thought. With powerlifting, you actually have to compete in weight classes. You know, you can't just walk into a powerlifting meet and be like, hey guys, I want to lift deadlift, bench, squat. I want to do that. just whatever. No, you have to actually be in weight classes. And so I could either compete at the 165 pound weight class, or I can compete at the 183 pound weight class. And both weight classes are they're pretty competitive, but I decided that I wanted to actually, like, if I wanted to be competitive, I decided I wanted to be at the 165 pound weight class because of the numbers that I have, or had, I should say. Oh boy, am I weak. Oh man, yeah, it is what it is. Strength always comes back. That required me to drop a little bit more weight. And this is around mid-February. The powerlifting meet was supposed to be April 1st. April 1st or May 1st, I believe. I think it was May. So I had a few weeks to drop a little bit of weight. And honestly, I didn't really have to drop that much weight because you could easily do like a water cut leading into a powerlifting meet. It's not the healthiest thing in the world, but it pretty much just happens with powerlifting. So I decided I didn't really want to do a water cut. Probably should have just stayed around that 170, 175 pound area, but I decided to drop down around 167, 165. And I was good, hanging out. And then the powerlifting meet got canceled because, well, you guys know what happened. I'm just gonna call it the vid hit us. Unfortunately, like, that kind of messed up the year for all of that because I couldn't really do the powerlifting meet anymore. I wish I would have just understood that it was gonna keep getting postponed, but I didn't, because it kept getting postponed. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna chill here, I'm good, you know, because like I just want to be ready like 165 to 170, and I'm just gonna hang out there because, you know, I want to do this powerlifting meet. Like, my goal was to do this powerlifting meet. I was like, I need to do this year, and it never happened. You know, I never got to do the powerlifting meet because it kept getting postponed. It got postponed 3 different times in 2020, and I finally realized that in November or October, I got the email that it was gonna be in December. Never actually happened, but I realized that I was like, it's just not gonna happen anymore. Regardless though, going from like 193 pounds, and I believe I weighed in at 193 in November of 2019, and then when I weighed in for my Christmas challenge that I did on my main channel, I was 157 pounds. You know, I got a lot of interesting opinions from people, as I'm no stranger to people's opinions. So that's roughly like 30 pounds over the course of a year. And definitely got a lot of people, you know, noticing from, like, I've told you guys before on this channel, like, when you look at me, you see here to here, and that's, you know, there were definitely some noticeable changes. If you take my videos from 2019 to now, I definitely notice, you know, like, you can see if somebody's lost 30 pounds, especially like in my face. I actually have a jawline. Before I like kind of had a jawline. I mean, definitely had some videos where it was like, but anyways, you guys get the picture. And so I wanted to kind of address some things that I changed over the course of the year that actually really improved my quality of life. The weight loss that I experienced over the year was just really like a secondary thing for me. It wasn't really something that I saw as like a beneficial thing or a negative thing. And I'm gonna go into some of those things right now for you guys. So the first thing that I really changed in my life, and this is gonna be a pretty controversial thing, I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions on this, is that I was a pretty frequent user of how do I wanna say this? I really don't want this video to get demonetized, because if it gets demonetized, no one's gonna see it. Green. I'll put a picture right there for you guys. And not like a frequent user to the point where I was like waking up and doing it. I've been a person, that's gonna be my next point after this, I have chronic insomnia. And so I'm just gonna call it green. I used green in order to sleep every single night for, I would say, probably a good 2 years. And it was something that I did every night habitually to sleep. And that's just the way that it was. It actually got to the point though where it wasn't just being used for sleep, it was being used to deal with a lot of problems that I felt like almost kind of like a numbing out thing. I started noticing it it was happening a lot towards the later stages of 2019. And I decided that I was starting to eat a lot more than usual outside of my challenges, and that's something that I really, like, I have to watch, because if I'm doing that, which was happening a lot more frequently, I started noticing that my blood work was starting to get out of whack, and that really started to scare me because that's something now I'm on top of. But when I'm not on top of it and I start seeing like my triglycerides, my HDL, my LDL, my fasting glucose is really high. All of those were I was just starting to eat more calories outside of my challenges, which just made my weight go up to where it was. Apart from that, I started noticing that like my day-to-day behavior just was really, I wasn't as goal orientated. I was very like nonchalant about things. I wasn't taking a lot of things seriously. And these are really just the negative effects of it. There are a lot of beneficial things to it, and I'm not demonizing it and I'm not praising it. You know, that's what I really want people to understand in this video, because like every single time that this gets brought up, people are usually like, oh my goodness, how could you do that? Or people are like, yeah, I knew it. And so it's like, I don't partake for my own personal reasons. But at the end of the day, this is just an issue that people are very, very strongly either against or for. But I felt like actually putting this in a video so that you guys understand my stance on it. I'm going to say this. My most important point about this particular thing is that it does not enhance your ability to consume larger amounts of food than usual. How do I say that so that it actually makes sense? Because it actually amps up your appetite, but I do not use it to amp up my appetite because it doesn't work like that. I'm trying to figure out how it's actually gonna make sense, because it actually does amp up your appetite. So I'm gonna break it down like this. So you have your stomach capacity, right? My stomach expands like probably 5-6 times the normal amount of an average person's stomach. Gross, I know, it's disgusting. Partaking in the herb, green or whatever you wanna call it, is not going to make that any larger. So what we're talking about here is psychologically. And psychologically, if I did that every single time I did food challenges, I realized that very, very early on, and I'm talking like years and years ago, that I can't actually do that in film videos, because I'm just gonna be like, food. The other part of the video, the main part of the video that I care about is me actually being coherent and actually having a personality for you guys. So I'm just gonna say this again, is I did not use that to enhance my ability to eat large amounts of food. It just does not work like that. Appetite, stomach capacity, two very, very different things. So my whole point with all of that, with bringing it up, is just so that you guys understand that by not doing that anymore, I felt like I regained a lot of myself again, and I was able to develop more of a goal-oriented mindset, a more determined mindset. I woke up more just wanting to do more things, wanting to just do more with my channel, wanting to just really do more than just sit down and just eat food on camera every single week. The first real big video that was just, I call it Erik TheElectric 2.0. I went out and I bought every single thing in a vending machine. I was like, it sounds so much cooler than just sitting down and just eating $100 worth of KFC. And I'm just like, that's super cool. You're just doing different stuff that creates more of a story that's more than just this one-dimensional food challenge every single week type of thing. And I started to really just be like, dude, I can do so much more with this, and this is something I can do for however long I want to do this, because after a while, it just gets to be kind of redundant. You know, if you're just sitting down and eating food every single week and it's just the same food, it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to this fast food place again, I'm gonna go to that fast food place. And so it got pretty stale to me. And so if you look at 2020 and you see all of these, 2020 was the year for me to just show that it doesn't have to be super one-dimensional. That was just the beginning. 2021, it's that's where I'm going to go full-blown craziness. You know, I did the 10,000 calorie eat and burn challenge. I did my 200-mile bike ride, all those different stuff. That was just me kind of just experimenting. But 2021, it's I have all these ideas and I'm so excited to bring you guys. But anyways, it's a separate thing. The second big thing is I wanted to let you guys know that, you know, I touched upon it earlier, but I've been dealing with chronic insomnia for the past 10 years of my life, and I just haven't really been that open with it. I mean, I've talked about it before, just like I've talked about the green before. I've talked about it on Instagram, I've talked about it a lot of other places, but you know, I know a lot of you can't really follow all of my social media, and it is what it is. But the insomnia really has made me, it's really hard. It's just hard because I feel like the people just look at sleep and they don't really understand how much of an impact it has, and myself included. I kind of always just took it for granted, and I actually always just saw it as like this thing where, oh, you get less sleep. Like, it's like, no, like you're not more of a man or more of a person or determined person, whatever, for getting less sleep. Like, that's just this BS idea that society throws out there. It's just not true. And I believed it for a long time. And when I started to, when I stopped consuming the green, I noticed that my sleep got worse. Actually, it got very, very bad. And I wanted to go back. I had a lot of highs and lows, constantly getting up every single night. My problem is I get up every night to use the bathroom. And I had not only just like interrupted sleep, but just constantly getting up to go to the bathroom, and initially just really hard time getting to sleep. I would wake up every single day. And if you've dealt with insomnia, or you've dealt with, like, and even if you got, like, I'm sure you guys, even if you haven't dealt with insomnia before, you'd know, like, if you wake up and like you don't feel like you've actually slept at all, and you just wake up and you're just like, wake up and you're just super groggy, and it just like, you can barely open your eyes, and it's just like that for the rest of the day. It's just, you feel like kind of a shell of a person. You don't feel like there's like no emotions. You don't have any memory, like you can't remember anything. I like sit back now and I think about how many years have gone by and the things that I've done over those years. And I think about what I've accomplished in the years that I've done everything. And I'm like, I did that basically functioning at whatever percentage, 60%, 70%, 50%, whatever it is. And I'm actually kind of a little, like, I have to be a little impressed with myself, because I can only imagine what I would have done or been able to do if I would have been functioning at 100%. And I feel like I wasn't able to function at 100% because I've dealt with insomnia for such a long time. And people look at sleep as just this secondary thing that is just like, yeah, they say to get more sleep, but who cares? No, your diet and how much you sleep are pretty much the determinants in the type of life that you're gonna have and your quality of life. I never took it seriously until now. And if anything, starting to do more of my endurance training, taking my cycling seriously, taking my running seriously, really taught me how vital and important it all is. Because I can wake up one day and just, dude, let's go crush a 33-mile run today. I'm gonna do that today. And to have that mindset and just be like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. And then to wake up the next day and to have the complete opposite mindset where I don't even have the motivation or drive to even to get myself up out of bed and go grab some coffee in the morning. It's a complete shift in your mindset overall. What I started doing was looking at how I lived my life, and I started looking at what was really causing me to get up during the night. And what I really want you guys to understand is that I still deal with it to this day. It's just not nearly as extreme. And I needed to really look at what I was doing leading up to when I go to sleep, which is my diet, because I usually get in the majority of my calories towards the later end of the day. I was consuming way too much food before I went to sleep. And that was a huge determinant in me waking up and having to go to the bathroom. Also, I was doing a lot of the training that I was doing really stopped towards 5 to 6 to 7 p.m. at night. And so when I was getting in the nutrients and calories, I was causing this abrupt shift in my body with my electrolyte levels. And so when your electrolyte levels are out of balance, your body's gonna hold and expel water at different times. And it's really gonna mess everything up with your body when you try to go to sleep. I remember trying to go to sleep after a few of like my 100-mile rides and my long runs, like my 20 to 23-mile runs, and it was impossible. Like, there was just no way it was gonna happen. I was digesting a lot of food in order to keep me full. I just can't go to bed on an empty stomach. I've realized that about myself, but me trying to go to bed on a non-empty stomach, there's 8 to 10 pounds of food in there. So trying to digest that overnight, obviously I'm just gonna wake up and have to go to the bathroom over and over and over again. So that was the big change that I made, was shifting a lot of the calories and food towards an earlier part of the day. And even really just not eating a ton before I go to sleep. That's really just really it in a nutshell. And I've dealt with that for a long time, mainly because it takes a lot of food for me to feel satisfied. A lot of food to like, I don't think people really understand how much food it takes for me to feel satisfied. And so when I go to bed on an empty stomach, I hate waking up feeling hungry. Like, that's just the way that I am. And so when I made that change, I felt a lot better. I woke up and I had so many days where I was sleeping through the night and waking up every day feeling like a normal person. And when I started feeling like a normal person, a lot of things happened. The first thing that happened was I was able to train a lot harder, and I was able to go a lot longer because I was rested. I was there mentally. I was there mentally, I was there physically. And I had so many days where I was just like, whoa. It was like going from like 720 resolution to like 4K. That's how it was for me. I was like, this is what it's like. And I remember just doing these bike rides and just thinking like, bro, like I have no off switch right now when I'm doing this. Like there's no, like, I'm gonna keep crushing it. I was killing it because I was getting more sleep. That's it. I could remember everything. Like I could remember like what I did 3 days before. I had a hard time remembering like the most basic stuff. And that was a huge thing for me. And so I realized that a lot of the issues that I was dealing with were mainly sleep related. I got a lot of opinions over the course of 2020, mainly because I started showing people a lot of what goes on when you eat exorbitant amounts of food, like how much your body can change. I started showing before and afters. I started showing weigh-ins, and I did a lot of those things, and a lot of people began to like actually see what goes on when you do what I do for a living, and it's really not that pretty. It's really not pretty at all. I started getting a lot of eyebrows being raised. One of the main criticisms that I got over the course of 2020 was, how I've lost weight. People have this association with me and weight loss, and they look at my history and they assume that it's this really negative thing. The point that I'm making here, by the way, and I really hope that people understand this, is that, if you currently deal with any sort of disordered eating or body image issues and any of that, this is in no way something that you should use to justify your own behaviors. This is me just speaking from my own experience. And I really want to be transparent with all of that, because a lot of people will take anything that they read or hear and just be like, oh, well, that's the case with me too. I'm good. Like, I'm gonna do, no, it's just not. So I just really wanted to put that out there for you guys. But going back to my point is that people, whenever they see someone like me with my history, they automatically assume it's the worst. He's in this bad place. While at the same time, I was kind of just like sitting back, just like, think whatever you want to think. One thing that really, for me, it's always been pretty puzzling to me and also very, very troubling, is that there are a lot of people out there that think that they can actually measure and gauge someone's mental health. And a lot of these people struggle with mental health issues themselves, and it's pretty sad. It really is. There are thousands, it feels like hundreds of thousands of times where I've wanted to be like, no, like, this is why that this has happened. This is the reason for, like, but I realized that, like, I just can't, because I've said this so many times, the only things that I can control in this life are my own thoughts and my own actions. And it goes for you as well. And if someone doesn't understand, or they just think a certain way, and like, that's just the way that they're gonna think, like there's nothing I can do about that. I realize that this video is getting a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be, but I just want you all to know that, I'm very open with my life. I'm very open about my history. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors out there when it comes down to people that, do what I do. And I just choose to be very open and transparent about my life. And I get a lot of heat for it, but that's just something that I'm okay with. And I'm happy, man. Like I've said that so many times. Once again, I'll restate this for people that don't understand, if they haven't dealt with any of disordered eating or any of that before, and any sort of mental health issues. Like when you're living if you're living with a mental health issue, whatever it is, it can be anything. There's a plethora of mental health issues out there. It rules your life, and you're powerless to it. You're not happy. you know? Like that's just not the way it is. And I've felt so much happiness over the course of the last year. And I've accomplished so many things, and I'm so proud of myself. And you know, if you guys ever have accomplishments and you do things beyond what you think you're capable of, I would encourage you to be proud of yourself too. I would hope you're proud of yourself, you know? So I don't really think I need to talk about that anymore. I think you guys get the picture. This has been probably one of my longest videos I've ever made on this channel, but it is what it is. If you guys want to know more or want me to cover any other topics that you are curious about, be sure to let me know down in the comments below, and I will bring them to you guys. And I'll be back with another video on Electric Talks. Later, guys.